Support for Pop of Culture comes from Stallings Wealth Management. Daniel Stallings, financial advisor. Securities and advisory services offered through Cetera Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC, a broker/dealer and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity.
This week on Pop of Culture, building a record label in Marion.
The thing about trying to build a record label is that the product talks back to you.
Kyren Monteiro takes us on the long journey that led to his new album.
And we'll also have a beautiful thing for National Adoption Month.
You know, decades to make up stories. It's scary to actually walk towards the truth of those stories.
And this week's What Are You Working On takes us behind the scenes of Butter.
Coming up.
Support for Pop of Culture comes from Stallings Wealth Management, the Innovation Connector, and from you. With state and federal money eliminated, you are the difference in keeping local programming on the air at IPR. Become a member today at indianapublicradio.org.
From IPR, this is Pop of Culture. I'm Jen Blackmer.
And I'm Michelle Kinsey. We're going to jump right in today with an artist whose journey and new album happened in Marion. Indiana recording artist Kyren Monteiro will drop a new album this month, and he's in the Pop of Culture studios to tell us all about it. Welcome, Kyren.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. If people do not recognize the name Kyren, right, they might recognize the name The Messenger. So you went with your biological name in 2015. So you've been rolling with Kyren for a while. Why did you decide to change it?
I went through some situations in life where that phase of life was over with. So I grew up in church as a preacher's kid, right? The rebellious ones. And so that was kind of a name I came up with my sophomore year of high school. In 2005, I graduated 2008 from Marion High School. And I just felt like it was time to just be myself. And quite honestly, managing multiple social media pages, like being the messenger here, and then being Kyren professionally, it was annoying. And I just looked at guys like Kanye West, Kobe Bryant, Kendrick Lamar. I'm like, all of these guys have a unique name. And if you look at their name, they'll always be that. And so KyrenMonteiro.com, I'm a professional audio engineer.
Yeah.
So that was dedicated to audio engineering. I already had a logo, already owned the URL. So I was just like, it just made sense. And from a marketing standpoint, I felt like it was more marketable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the new album is called Visionary.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that is a big title.
It is.
What does that word mean to you, and how does it play out in the music you made for this album?
So I left my job in 2021, and I've been working under my companies since then. I've been an entrepreneur since I've been younger. So anybody in that world knows you're waking up. The day-to-day grind of that is a lot. And so I wanted to make an album that just reflected not pushing entrepreneurship, but people like operating to their highest abilities. I feel like God has created everybody with certain skill sets, levels of greatness. And I wanted to just make music that it just encourage people and challenge people to just push themselves to be the greatest version. Because I think the world is a better place when we all are operating at our highest self. So my old manager told me that when you're not operating at the ultimate level that God designed you for, that you're robbing the world and people around you, because we all need each other for different things. So I just kind of wanted to make an album for that. And I get tired of hearing the same old stuff in hip hop music. And so I feel like this kind of message is rare in hip hop music. So yeah, I wanted to make something that just encouraged people.
Yeah. And I like that you said, you know, people kind of like operating at their highest level. I'm sure there's a lot of people walking around, people probably listening right now that aren't really sure like what that is and what direction I need to go to or need to go in. Where do I need to be? What is that highest level for me to be operating at? Talk a little bit about your journey and when did you discover that music and production and all of those things were it for you?
I grew up in church. My father, the late Grady Speed, he passed away in 2009. But growing up in church, I started playing drums at like 5.
Wow.
No drum lessons. And I mean, the first time I played drums, I begged the worship leader to let me play. And shout out to my guy, Stephen Woods, my big bro from Marion. He missed a Sunday. And they was like, if you want to play, then go play.
Wow.
I was so little, I couldn't even reach the drum pedals. I had to stand up. I couldn't even sit down because my feet wouldn't. So anybody who knows drums can laugh at that, right? So literally 300 to 500 people in the sanctuary, they just threw me in and said, go play.
Wow.
So that, no lie. And so there's people in Marion who can vouch for this story. So that start of just, and it was like boot camp, growing up in a small Baptist church. Our worship leader, he was vicious. And if you lost time, he would kick you off in the middle of service and say, take him off. And so that level of just being on point for me created a hunger.
Yeah.
Because I love my big bro, Steve, but I wanted to be the main drummer. I got tired of playing for youth group. I wanted to be playing for the guards. Yeah, they had better songs. Yeah. I didn't want to just play for youth church choir. No, I wanted to play for the real service. So that, I've just always had a competitive edge. And so that kind of just started. And as I grew up, became a teenager, and start really finding more of an identity in music, creating the name The Messenger. I tried getting record deals and nobody would sign us. And so we started our own boutique record label, which was called Holy Soldier Records at that time, which is now Engage Records. And looking back, it was an illegal company because I was only 16 years old. So I was signing contracts. And everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, not even knowing. I'm just seeing what Jay-Z is doing and the other guys. So I'm just like, oh, okay.
I could do that.
Yeah, my dad was like, if nobody's signing you, you got to do it yourself. And so, so I was an illegal sole proprietor at the age of 16, 17. So I wish I had those contracts. I was going to Microsoft. I was sneaking in computer class, going to Microsoft Word, acting like I was working.
Yes.
And I was using up all of their ink because my mom and dad would only let me use so much of the ink. And my cousin was a computer teacher. The statute of limitation is over now. So, right? So my cousin was my computer teacher, and she would let us just create flyers. She just let me work. And looking back, she allowed that. People like that help. So, we were just, we was getting it every way we could.
I love that. Talk a little bit about the choice. Like you said, people at the time were thinking, like, if you were putting, God in your hip hop, it was a little corny. It didn't really kind of fit. You didn't have to do that. You could have just done hip hop, right?
Yeah.
But it was important to you to still bring that message.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, because why didn't you just take the other route? Because obviously that other road would have been easier for you, I'm assuming.
So my upbringing is weird because I come from a lineage of strong faith, God-fearing people, but I also have family that was in the streets, doing activities, as I'll just say. Yeah. And so it was weird being influenced by both of those worlds at the same time. I've always believed music should come from an authentic place. And even though I grew up around street activities, that wasn't me. My mom and dad worked really hard to make sure that I didn't go down that route, even though I had close friends in that lifestyle. So for me, it wasn't authentic. To do that. And even in the new album, the intro of the new album that's coming, I said that I could have went some other routes, but I chose a different path. So for me, I wanted to just make sure that I was just being authentically me. Now, I will be honest, there was times where I was preaching Christian theology and was living, different ways. I remember being in therapy and they was like, you're Bruce Wayne in the daytime and you're Batman at night. You're living two different lifestyles. So I'm not going to say that I've always been the perfect church guy. I mean, I made so many mistakes. But that just it wasn't authentic to me. So I just had to be true to myself.
I love that. That brings us to this album. Talk a little bit about the creation of Visionary, that process for you when you were putting this together.
So it was created, the music was produced by a guy who goes by Zero the Composer. He's a Grammy Award-winning music producer out of Indianapolis. But he started in the church, though, so that's how I know him. So he started in the Christian hip-hop market, so I know him a long time, so we've always wanted to work. And honestly, I don't know if this is a great thing to say, but I created this album in like 3 days.
Whoa.
I never create albums that quick. We normally take a year to two.
Yeah.
The album before this is called Broken. It took 2.5, almost 3 years. I will say the content of this album took years, so it was easy for me to rap about my day-to-day life. But as far as recording, writing, and all of that, 3 days.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it was ready to come out. I mean, you, like you said, these were your experiences, these are your lived experiences, but it was right now that this had to come out, and that's probably why it spilled out in such a short amount of time.
Well, our small boutique hip hop label, Engage Records, we just signed some local guys, 3 guys, Damon Nee, Young Pootie, and a guy named Big Dro. And so I wanted to show them how to hop in the water and just execute. I hate just sitting around talking about stuff for a million years and nobody gets stuff done. That's a big part of this album is like execute, actually do what you say you're gonna do. And so we just me and my guy Philip Boyd, who is the A&R director of the label, I told him, I said, hey man, I'm gonna pick a week out and this album is gonna be done. And he was like, you're crazy, nobody does that. And we went in and we just started recording and looked up and we had an album done. Now obviously it still had to be mixed, it still had to be mastered, still had to do photo shoots, artwork, get the features in, stuff like that. But my part of it, it was done in 3 days.
Yeah, there's a theme here, Kyren. I think in just the short time we've been talking, you are a person who will take on a challenge, who does not like to be told, you can't do that. You can't have a company at 16. No, you can't have you can't put an album together in 3 days. I mean, my gosh, that's something.
This
is
weird.
Dedication.
It's weird when people say that when I say this to people, some of my biggest music influences are Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I wanted to be an athlete, but God didn't bless me with those gifts. But if you pay attention to those guys were like relentless in the way they work. So I have like an athletic approach to business and music.
Yeah. Win-win-win, get it done. You're doing all of this amazing work in Marion. Why was it important for you to build your companies, build your sound, build other artists up? Why was it important for you to do that in Marion as opposed to somewhere else?
Man. My wife, when she hears this, she's going to laugh. Because to be honest with you, I was looking at areas like Atlanta, Charlotte, LA, some of the entertainment pockets, Nashville. Yep. And then during COVID, there was a shift that started to happen of hungry young people, I would say, let's just say under 50, who wanted to see change. And a good friend of mine, Ronald Morrell Jr., who is the mayor of Marion, first Black Republican mayor in the state of Indiana, period. So he became mayor at the top of 2024. My wife was his campaign manager. And just after talking to him and just seeing things, it was just like, why not be a part of changing your home environment, right? Instead of just other communities getting that benefit. And so Marion historically is a very industrial city. And after all of those factories closed in the early 2000s, late 90s, it's just been a drought. And so it's starting to see a pivot of change in a lot of different things. And so I wanted to be a part of that change. And so, like I said, on the redevelopment commission board for the city of Marion, involved in, just things behind the scenes. And so that was just important to me to be a part of change. Yeah.
And I see that you're also doing kind of some small business mentoring, like other entrepreneurs, helping lift them up. In the community.
I think that's important because there's people in Marion, guys like Trent Daly, Keenan Davis, Dan Young of Kingdom Roofing. I mean, these guys have big businesses. And so these guys are business coaches to me, and I think it's very important. But going back to the Christian hip-hop days, I had a dad who was a mentor. I had pastors. There was Christian hip-hop artists who are legendary in that market who took me under the wing and taught me. So I've always had mentors since I've been a kid, and so I believe that you got to pay that forward. So
absolutely. Talk a little bit about, speaking of paying it forward, some of the artists that you are producing, that you're bringing into the fold, that are featured on the new album.
Yeah, so as far as audio engineering, we have a company called Frequency Canvas, and we work with people all over the country. I'm a professional master engineer, became a nationally awarded master engineer last year. So I work with guys like Lecrae, Andy Mineo, Trip Lee, even some bigger names on the secular side. But as far as a record label, there's a guy named Young Pooty, who that's his stage name. Mark Kine II is his government. He'll kill me for saying that. There's another guy named Damon Nee. And those guys are hip hop artists, and they're really talented. And I said I would never sign artists to the record label again. And I didn't do it for 10 years. And then,
why did you say that? Why weren't you going to sign?
Man, it's a headache.
It's a lot.
It's a headache. I heard somebody on a podcast say that the thing about trying to build a record label is that the product talks back to you. Right, when you're selling insurance, Luke Jones is in the background laughing. when you're selling insurance, like, that doesn't talk back to you. Most product doesn't talk back, but the artist is a part of the product, and it is difficult because egos.
Yes. It's their baby. Yeah, they feel like, I'm bringing this into the world, and they're really close to it.
And so being an artist-owned record label, they don't get to pull you don't know what it feels like, because there's some people that are just running record labels that aren't in the water, that may inherit it large. So, I mean, we don't have big capital behind it. So it's really from the ground. And so I just feel like it was God just telling me to do that. It's not a great investment running a record label where you get paid cents on the stream. So for people who are thinking about doing music or putting their own stuff out, merchandise is important. And you have to build yourself up as a brand where people will want to buy it.
Yes.
And I think good music is the only way to do that. Because think about it, if you can stream, I pay $20 a month for Tidal. It doesn't matter how much I stream or don't. That's just baked into my monthly overhead as a person. So if your music sucks, I'm just not going to listen to it again.
Yes.
There's no
matter
risk.
how much you brand it, no matter how flashy and shiny it is, if it's not good, if it doesn't touch somebody in some way and make them want to listen to it, it's all for naught.
I'm just asking for curiosity. So for you as a fan of music, what, when you hear a record or you see an artist, whether they're famous or not, what makes you say, I want to buy this? Like, what about a record makes you say, I have to put money? Because you can just stream it, right?
That's
true.
true.
You don't have to come out of you work hard for your money, so you don't have to come out of your pocket. So if you're buying a vinyl, cassettes are coming back.
Yes.
If you're buying the merchandise, paying for the ticket, what makes you do that? Because you don't have to do that.
That's right. That's right. We certainly don't. I think when it comes to seeing a band live, I love people that are new, and there's like a new sound happening, something I've never heard before. I got to hear that live. I have to. On the vinyl, CD, cassette side of things, that becomes more of a collector thing,
100%,
right?
yeah.
So I'm going to go back to artists that have meant a lot to me my whole life, but I'm also going to, if someone really is impactful, or there is a moment in my life that artist, that album, that song is a really big part of it, I'm going to buy that.
Nice.
So I think there are a lot of different ways you can be touched by music to pay for it. I just hope it continues. Like you, as a music fan, I want artists to still be out there doing their thing so that I can enjoy it selfishly, right? But I get it. It's hard to get out there. There's a huge cost involved for artists, time and cost, when you can just do something in the studio and put it out, or put it out on TikTok and cross your fingers that it's going to be something huge.
Well, I think that two platforms are important. So how, so shout out to you guys for allowing me to come on your platform. I think that there should be some avenues too where people should be able to walk on and support art. So I think it's a ecosystem of collaboration, my opinion.
But I will say it starts local. You've got to support your local artists. You've got to support your local bands. You've got to get out there and buy the ticket to see them wherever they're playing, buy their CDs, you've got to keep that local support going.
But local artists, bands, record labels have to be putting out high quality projects. You can take my album and put it behind the latest Kendrick Lamar album, and it stands tit for toe and everything. And I understand we have an unfair advantage because we own an audio production company as well. So we have things that work in our favor, where it costs us time more than it costs money.
Yeah.
But artists have to figure out a way to make sure that you're putting
quality out
quality photo shoots, quality artwork, just a quality, just 100% quality experience, and then people will believe in it. Because if you go to a restaurant and it's not a great experience, you're never going to want to go back.
That's right. That's right. Well, back to the album, a few more questions about Visionary. If somebody is going to listen when this comes out, November 28th, is that right?
Black Friday.
All right, November 28th, when this album comes out, somebody's going to listen to it front to back. What do you want them to feel after they have listened to this album? What do you want them to take away from that?
It's a great question. Hopefully they walk away inspired to figure out how that they contribute to the world better. Or if they're already sitting on something, because like you said earlier, people don't know what to do. I think a lot of people, especially if you're plus 30, know what they want to do, but they're scared to do it. So I hope that people walk away energized and wanting to execute and make the world a more productive and better place.
Oh, I love that. If people want to hear, I know there are a couple singles out right now
in
the field, and what's the other one?
Really Like That.
Yeah, Really Like That. So those two are out. Where can people listen to that? And then while we're on the topic of listening, tell everybody about the listening session.
So that's available on all major platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube Music, all the major streaming platforms and DSPs. And then we are doing a listening session November 15th from, I believe, 5 to 7. I'm about to tell you right now. So I'm giving you the accurate time. So we're doing a listening session, November 15th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Psychedelic Cellar, which is a local vinyl shop.
Nice.
Ran by a guy named Matt Wilson, who actually connected me and Luke together.
Oh, nice.
And so that address is 207 South Washington Street, Marion, Indiana 46952. So we're just going to have a small listening session. Hopefully both of you guys can come. I would love to have
sounds
you.
Great.
But we're just going to play the album and just kind of, just talk art. Get feedback and stuff. And November 15th will be the listening session. It's open to anybody that wants to come out. It's not closed off. I wanted anybody to be able to come who wants to. And so I understand we're getting a holiday season and stuff, so it can be challenging for people to shift away. But if people can come, I would love for people to come, and they can reach out to me personally on social media and get the information, no problem.
Perfect. And you have a website with all of your stuff. You want to tell everybody how they can?
So you can, my website is KyrenMonteiro.com. And then the record label website is engagerecords.net.
You want to spell your name for everybody? So
yes. KyrenMonteiro.com.
Perfect.
And that's on social media at Kyren Monteiro.
Awesome. Well, Kyren, thank you so much for coming into the Pop Studios today. Really appreciate it, and hope you kill it with this album, Visionary. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Culture really like that. Visionary, always in me. It ain't never on me. Hard times, I kept it moving. They can never hold me. Making waves, big drip like the Atlantic Ocean. Apply pressure, keep on moving. We never lose emotion. Seen a vision since I was a youngin', had to build it up. Now results coming from it, cause I'm never giving up.
This is Pop of Culture. I'm Michelle Kinsey.
And I'm Jen Blackmer. November is National Adoption Month, and we're going to hear one story about adoption now. This comes from our collaboration with Beautiful Things, a weekly online magazine of short nonfiction essays. And it comes to us from our guest, writer and professor Sherry Weller. Welcome, Sherry, to Pop of Culture.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Well, we're so excited to share your piece, and it's so timely and lovely. So let's jump right in. This is Sherry Weller and her beautiful thing entitled Reason Enough.
A friend and I are at happy hour. Icy doubles swim in glasses before us. Recently discovered, we are both adopted. Blooming, an intimacy unwarranted by the length of time we've known each other. I describe growing up with an identical twin, wondering about our birth mother. Ask if she has done a search. She tells me she lied to the Catholic Diocese in St. Paul, conjured a research paper on matrilineal genealogy for class at the University of Minnesota, gained access to the 1965 baptismal records on microfiche. She found her birth parents' names, looked them up in the phone book, made her husband dial the number. She learned they lived nearby, had been juniors in high school, forced to surrender her to save their reputations and their families. I take pleasure in the successful white lie, knowing the church's dedication to erasing links between illegitimate babies and unwed birth mothers. Sex, secrets, silence, shh. We wade into a lifetime of longing to know their stories as the beginning of ours. Linger on the clawing desire to fill in decades-old blanks. I'm unsettled, sweating like our drinks. I want to search, but worry about hurting my mom, my twin. I say, I feel guilty, like I need a good reason to search. She stares across the booth, says, the fact is, the heartbeat you heard for the first 9 months of your life is different than the one you went home to. Isn't that reason enough?
Thank you, Sherry. That was Reason Enough, Sherry Weller's beautiful thing. And so much about this is so resonant. I want to start with this sentiment of we wade into a lifetime of longing to know their stories as the beginning of ours, right? And that I think speaks to so many of us in our relationships with our parents, whether we're adopted or not. And I love that notion of lineage as a way to encounter a truth.
Exactly. And it was that, a lifetime. And then until I had been introduced to this friend, I hadn't really had a friend who was adopted. So our connection there about that lineage was something so new for me. I felt like for the first time, I was like letting my secret out of the bag and could talk about it in detail and ask her questions. And in a way, this conversation gave me a little bit of absolution to search. So.
What an excellent role for a new friend to fill, and this idea too of craving to know, like longing to know the people who are our parents, and in this case, with adoption being a part of that story as well. There's also this tension between, the parents you grew up with and then the knowledge of the parents that you could have or might have grown up with and what that story actually is. So that really does manifest as a tension, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And I felt that tension until I made the decision to go in search of these answers that I knew were out there, or I thought was out there when I dropped the application into the mailbox. I didn't know what was on the other side, and that was part of the waiting and the weight of that decision. You don't know what's on the other side. Are they alive yet? Do they even want to know you? Mm-hmm. You decades to make up stories. It's scary to actually walk towards the truth of those stories. So. Yeah, it's important, though, as you were saying, whether it's adoptive parents or biological parents, they are the headwaters of our own story. So there's just a little bit more hoops to jump through for adopted, especially if you're adopted during the closed adoption era that I was.
Yeah, that becomes a whole other thing, right? And plus, I think the work that is associated with that also then comes this sense of responsibility. Well, and you say this in the essay, like I need a good reason to search, right? So there's going to be obviously guilt associated with it in how your adoptive parents are going to respond to this choice, right? And then also the fact that it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of revelation, and what will be on the other end. We're not very comfortable with uncertainty, are we?
No, it's very, very unsettling and uncomfortable. But juicy stuff comes from the uncomfortable places.
Oh,
absolutely. That's what I tell my students. I'm like, that's where the juicy stuff happens, just on the edge of your comfort zone. So I'm going to hold myself to that same standard.
Right. And it's hard sometimes, too. I think our lives are so set up around being certain about all the things that we do and all the choices we make. But you're right. I mean, life happens in that space between knowing something and not knowing something, right? The craving, if you will, that you talk about so beautifully. Additionally, to that notion of uncertainty, there's this lovely image at the end of the piece, Sherry, and you said that it was something your friend said, right? The fact is, the heartbeat you heard for the first 9 months of your life is different from the one you went home to. And that is so resonant. It's just such a beautiful image, right? This idea of this heartbeat that you heard, and then the heartbeat of your adoptive mother, and they're not the same, but they're still important. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And, that was an issue, not an issue, but something that I really struggled with in even deciding to search. Like, these are two women who have framed my entire life and existence. And I knew one so closely and I didn't know the other one. And I think usually it's the triangle of adoption, the birth mother, the adoptive mother, and the adopted child. Well, I had a quadrangle because I have an identical twin. So it was navigating lots of that. My twin wasn't interested in knowing right away. And so it was a lot of navigating, being very aware of everyone, the other women around me, those other three women's perspective and needs and worries about this. So, but it came out great on the other side of it. It was worth the work.
I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah. I'm very happy to hear that. And and this brings me, I think, to my last comment. November is National Adoption Month, and your piece, of course, is so very timely in so many ways. And it's hard to find the right kind of data for this, but the general estimate is that at any given time, there's approximately, give or take, 100,000 children who are waiting to be adopted. And so that also, I think, brings into the larger picture of this conversation is kind of the joy that comes out of the adoptive process, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Families are formed. Children are given this amazing, growing necessity of unconditional love. At least I can speak from my own experience. So, and I think it also speaks to the multitudes of ways families are formed in our, current space. And I think that's amazing. And everyone who's doing work about informing people or telling their stories is really helping everyone else understand what adoption's about, what it's like being adopted, and just open that door of conversation. I think that's the most important aspect.
That is, and the connections that occur because of that. And it's okay that it's complicated, and it should be, because it's human.
Absolutely. We are complicated people, but we love stories.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Sherry, I cannot thank you enough for sharing your beautiful thing with us here on Pop of Culture. She is a senior lecturer at Loyola University, Chicago. Thank you so much, Sherry.
Thanks so much, Jen. Great to talk to you.
You too. This story comes from IPR's collaboration with Riverteeth's Beautiful Things, a weekly online magazine of micro essays. More at riverteethjournal.com.
It's that part of the show where we sit down with an artist and ask them, what are you working on?
This week, Maya Doss spoke with Laith Hicks.
Today on the show, I have Laith Simba Hicks, an artist, poet, and creative director. Laith, we're so curious. What are you working on?
I am working on a couple of different things. I'm really pushing myself as a cultural architect and a thought leader. So from working on campus to really create communities, safe spaces for exposure, building mindsets. I just hosted an art therapy event with the Collegian 100, as well as like before I got here, I was on the phone with one of my dear friends from Chicago. We're working on a nonprofit called Blank Canvas. I'm pretty excited about it because, well, I really got recruited to help create an environment and a nonprofit that helps 16 to 30-year-olds be able to build that skill to communicate and articulate and express themselves through arts, as well as getting people to invest into the sound of Indiana. Kind of want to take that step further as a cultural architect to create more of a sound and creative culture in my community.
That's beautiful, Laith. I've always been inspired by how you use your voice to create platforms for other creatives. You worked with Butter Art Fair for Jew's Juke Joint as a gang intern, and I really want us to talk about that because I think it was such an amazing thing to see you doing. And I liked that there was something that said, I made rock and roll, and it was about bringing people together in Indiana for music. So talk to us about it.
Yes, because I'm such a nerd about Jew's Juke Joint and Butter Art Fair. Shout out to Gang Gang. That was the internship I was with. So background on Gang Gang, they are a nonprofit that started in 2020 after the Black Lives Matter and George Floyd movement. They were the people who coordinated a Black Lives Matter mural painting in Indiana. And then I'm a nerd. I study anthropology. One of the 4 elements of anthropology is cultural anthropology. Most people, when you think about it, think of like watching a documentary. People who do documentaries or who go to different places to tell a story, that's basically what I'm doing. I love Sinners. I watched the movie 3 times. Especially for me, I'm someone who wants to tell authentic stories, especially for African Americans through arts and data. So I really respect how that story has a lot of symbolism and has a lot of authentic things. There's a moment in it where it's like cross-generational of like music, dancing.
I was just thinking of that scene. It was so impactful.
Yes. So basically, my boss called me. I was like, hey, have you seen Sinners? I was like, yeah, I love Sinners. And he was like, you know that one scene where like they're all dancing, all of that? I was like, I want you to recreate that scene. I'm going to give you a building, drop off keys. You got like a month and a half. And
you were like, wow.
Yeah,
Did he just really say that?
At first, I was geeked until it really hit. I was geeked about the situation until I got my key and I walked into a super big building and there was nothing. And it started off with like me just walking around, just like, okay, how can I visualize it? To me going to research. So I think I spent like 2-3 weeks just heavy research. I'm listening to music. I'm reading, I'm on ChatGPT, I'm traveling. So baseline was me trying to get in the headspace of someone in the 1930s. Over time, I really just ended up telling a story of the whole kind of 19th century. Since the abolishment of slavery, African-American communities have really helped contribute to American pop culture. From ragtimes, which I didn't know was a real thing, but you might think of like old school Mickey Mouse songs, like the piano with the bounce, that's ragtimes, to Negro spirituals, field songs that someone just walked past, was like, you started humming it, to even going to disco, funk, house. House is my favorite. I love house.
Me too.
And
rock.
And rock. I had to understand rock isn't just heavy metal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I made rock and roll photo opportunities that you had in Jew's Juke Joint were really cool because not everyone understands the history of rock and roll in America, and that a lot of the pioneers for rock and roll were Black Americans.
Yes. Indiana has its own unique history.
Right.
Honestly, Indiana has Indiana Avenue. The difference between Indiana Avenue and the New York Harlem Renaissance and New Orleans Bourbon Street is that Indiana Avenue was picked apart in the 70s through the highways and the crack epidemic. So like 465 pushed people out. But when it was at that peak, we had like 30 jazz bars. We had musicians that were blowing up. We had musicians traveling like Ray Charles, all the big artists at the time. I'll just say that. But Indiana, we had created basically this circuit that allowed it for popular, like Rick James, James Brown, to travel from the South, the Midwest, and the East safely in like the 1930s, 1940s, 50s. I have a lot more pride understanding like the Great Migration when you had everyone go from the South up to North. Indiana was a big pivotal spot for those juke joints that you saw in centers. I put a lot of Easter eggs in Juice Juke Joint. When you first walk in, it has Juice Juke Joint. So like with a Southern accent, Juke Joint. That's how they say it. You go back further, it's Juice Juke Joints. That pronunciation difference represents that Northern pronunciation versus that Southern pronunciation. The way I want to tell my story, especially with arts and data, is making it immersive, interactive, that it was very contemporary, like you're walking into somewhat of a juke joint with different elements. Actually, were you able to go into it?
I was just about to say, I want to give like a visual tour for our listeners. So when you leave the Stutz and you go under the Butter Art Fair arch, the Butter Art Fair arch, you see this bright pink warehouse out in the parking lot. And as you walk towards it and you go inside, you see this huge space where they had a stage area for musicians. There was a bar.
Yeah,
there were different rooms to explore.
We had the Get Butter bar outside, which was 4 bars. And we had an indoor bar inside called the Flamingo Club. Flamingo Bar in Indiana, which was where a lot of Black musicians was able to get that platform and take off.
I think all of the details you put into it were really amazing, and I noticed them, and I'm sure everyone else who went to Butter Art Fair noticed them. But I saw videos of everyone dancing, and there being like a real energy, I feel like, between everyone, hearing the music and being in that space together.
That experience almost drove me insane. I was on that border of insanity and passion. There's a fine line if you're really passionate.
When you saw it play out in real life, how did that make you feel?
I feel like I was successfully able to educate my community in a way that is different. Like my mission is to tell authentic stories through arts and data. I had a lot of people come up to me and say they felt like they either had to walk around it a couple of times to catch everything, and I love that as someone who put the Easter eggs there, or people who just felt natural there, like they just belonged. Juice Juke Joint was named after Jew. He was a chef who passed away. He was a nephew of one of the founders of Gang Gang, and he was also a big community leader, as long as of Chris Beatty, who was another community activist who passed away during the Black Lives Matter, making sure we had murals for them to really say the names and really pay that respect and homage.
Well, thank you so much, Laith, for sharing with our listeners your work and bringing community and art together through immersive experiences, and also your passion in strengthening our state's sound and culture. It was a real treat to have you on.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked, and I also want to give you your flowers while I'm still on here. That shout out to you doing your thing as an artist too, and also someone who I respect that's also making moves. So appreciate you for having me.
All right, Michelle, let's get some events into people's calendars.
Yes.
How about we get started with Ball State University's Department of Theater and Dance is presenting Goodnight Tyler beginning Saturday, November 15th in the recital hall of the Fine Arts Building. Goodnight Tyler is a poignant and unexpectedly humorous ghost story, love that, about memory, grief, and the fight for control over a legacy. The play invites audiences to reflect on how we remember, represent, and come to terms with the lives of those impacted by injustice. More info on this production may be found at bsu.edu/theater.
Really intrigued by this one. I have not seen this play.
And this is a guest director,
yes, I saw
Lisa
that.
Dixon, and she's off the charts good.
Yeah,
so
really
it's
looking
going to be a
forward to
wonderful
this.
show.
Yeah. The Polar Express train ride returns this weekend at Whitewater Valley Railroad in Connorsville with service to the North Pole. The ride is a magical recreation of Chris Van Allsburg's classic picture book. Passengers will be served hot chocolate and a cookie by dancing chefs. They will enjoy a reading of the book and have their golden ticket punched by the conductor. At the North Pole, Santa and his elves will board the train for the return trip to Connorsville. Riders are encouraged to wear their pajamas. Can you tell how excited I am about
fun. That sounds like so much fun.
Adorable. Whitewater Valley RR.org has departure times.
The 76th Christmas Gift and Hobby Show is on at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. The show features more than 300 vendors and a holiday entertainment stage. Sounds like a great place to get some gifts.
Absolutely.
And Santa, of course, will be visiting. IndianaStateFairgrounds.com has the details.
I remember going to that when I was a kid with
how
my
about that?
parents. It was a tradition. It was just like, oh, the holiday season has begun. We're
It's
going
time.
to the
That's
Gift and Hobby
right.
Show. That's right. That's right. Tina, the Tina Turner musical is taking the stage November 19th at Emmons Auditorium. Tina is the inspiring journey of a woman who broke barriers and became the queen of rock and roll. It's, wait for it, simply the best.
You did not.
Oh, I did.
You did.
Better than all the rest.
Oh my gosh, Michelle.
I had to. bsu.edu/Emmons.
That is one heck of a show.
Fantastic. Rojo's Martini Bar in downtown Muncie will have its first comedy night, November 20th. Featured comedians will be Dick Ridgway, Cameron Grubbs, Jeff Crone, and Dan West. The laughs begin at 9 p.m.
That is so awesome. I
fun?
love that.
Yeah.
Oh, on November 21st, you are invited to an evening at the Murray at 405 South Walnut Street, downtown Muncie. Shop Artist Studios, listen to music by Dan Wright, and enjoy tasty beverages.
Mm-hmm.
The event begins at 6:30 p.m. There is so much happening, especially downtown Muncie. Like all of these amazing
time.
things
Yes.
are going on all the time. There should never be a night if you want to do something that
Yes,
you can't find
yeah.
something to do.
I have to roll my eyes when people say, there's nothing going on.
I know it.
Please.
I know it. You can find out here.
That's right. If you have an event Pop of Culture listeners need to know about, let us know at indianapublicradio.org/contact. Then click Pop of Culture.
Support for Pop of Culture comes from Stallings Wealth Management, the Innovation Connector, and from you. With state and federal money eliminated, you are the difference in keeping local programming on the air at IPR. Become a member today at indianapublicradio.org.
And that's our show. Our executive producer is Angie Rapp.
This week was produced by Luke Jones, who left early to continue bonding with Kyren over audio equipment.
Our audio fellow is Maya Doss. Our show was hosted by me, Michelle Kinsey.
And me, Jen Blackmer. Pop of Culture is a production from IPR on the campus of Ball State University. Michelle, what button do we press?
I don't know.
Luke's not here. I don't know.
What if we just walk out?
What if we just do this?